10 random magic cards rated. Day number 142. Happy Turkey Day. And to you, everybody. That's my turkey call. Anyway, let's hear the... Sorry. Imagine if you're at Thanksgiving, you're like, hey, Mom and Dad or Uncle Jerry, check this guy out. I watch him. He does magic stuff. We all play magic. I want to check this guy out. And then I'm in the first 5 seconds, I'm making weird noises. Sorry about that. But what's the first card of the day? What are we doing here? It's Two-Headed Hunter, 5 mana, 4 and a red for a 5/4 giant with menace. But wait, there is in fact more. This has twice the rage on it as an adventure. This costs 2 mana, 1 and a red, and an instant. Target creature gains double strike till end of turn, which is the good part of the card. And I saved it for last. 5 mana for a 5/4 menace is kind of drafty, but I guess what you're really looking at here is the adventure. And then like maybe if the game makes it long enough, it's an extra resource. It's a big guy. Like sure, they take that. But the real bread and butter, the real dressing on this turkey, I guess the turkey's the good part, and then the dressing is kind of the ancillary thing. I don't know, whatever. I stop with the Thanksgiving jokes. Yeah, turkey. This is just a decent double strike at instant speed for 2 mana is just kind of the going rate anyway. So it's a fine magic card. I'll give it a 4.6. It's pretty high, man. But I'm going to stick with it. I guess I should feel more charitable on a day like Thanksgiving. Let's give thanks to the fact that magic cards exist in the first place, and maybe give them a little bit of charity today. Can we do that? Let's see what number 2 is. Valduk, Keeper of the Flame. Silly art. What's it actually look like? It looks like this. It's originally from Dominaria. 3 mana, 2 and a red for a 3/2 legendary human shaman. At the beginning of combat on your turn, for each aura and equipment attached to Valduk, create a 3/1 red elemental creature token with trample and haste. Exile those tokens at the beginning of the next end step. So... neat. I remember this being in standard too and being like, okay, we're going to do something. And it never did. It had like 2 years and it never did a single thing, man. But it is pretty cool. I kind of like the idea of it in today's standard, despite the fact that it dies to cut down as a 3-drop, which is not usually what you're looking for. But if you play it on 4 mana, sit and wait for the cut down will come, and then play like Shard Mage's Rescue. Right? And then suddenly it's a little bit larger. You procced all your eerie effects. You get a 3/1 during every combat. Let's go. Put a Sheltered by Ghosts on it. You get a couple of 3/1s. I could see how like this could work out, right? But overall, probably not actually very good. Decent like commander to build around. If you're going to do equipment, you're kind of stuck with mono red at that point. But I think you could do a fun little like budget, low to the ground, like low curve mono red like equipment stack. That this dude could get like 4 or 5 things, or like auras for that matter. There's a lot of cool mono red auras, So I just cannot bring myself to hate the dude. He's a very unique commander. And again, today I'm going to give thanks to the things I like about playing Magic and Magic cards in general. So I'm going to give the dude a 4.3 that he probably doesn't deserve. It's probably like a 3.9 or something. But, I've said it before. I'll say it 1,000 more times. A unique ability on a guy that can be in your command zone will take you some of the way on this program. Is that what this is? Is it a program? What's the third card of the day? Leaf Gilder, everybody. One of the most normal mana dorks ever printed. Originally printed in Lorwyn. This is 2 mana, 1 and a green for a 2/1 elf druid. You can tap it for a green. Imagine that. Right? I've never seen an elf that... This elf taps for green. You're that now. Speaking of unique stuff... This is just fine. It's like the definition of fine, man. 4 point... I've kind of boxed myself into a corner with these last couple of cards. I will give this a 4.4 because, a 2-power mana dork is still fine. It's really... You can't give it a bad score. You can't... And there's probably some people... You're like, well, that is a pretty bad score. No, it's not. That's fine. That's playable in like a couple of decks here and there, and I think Elves is that deck. we've kind of gone a long way past this card at this point, but it'll never be terrible, So, 4th card of the day. Let's get a good one. Endless Atlas from Commander 2018 is in the house. This is 2 mana for an artifact. You can pay 2 and tap it to draw a card. Activate this ability only if you control 3 or more lands with the same names. Basics, you got 3 swamps, go for it. This is actually a pretty neat way for monocolored decks to draw cards, isn't it? I've never seen this a day in my life. Playing Magic for 30 years this upcoming year, and I don't know this one. I've heard of it. I've heard of this card. I've just never actually witnessed it, I guess. It's the word I'm looking for. Probably not. But yeah, this is okay. It's okay. It's like, it probably in Commander only really works with basics unless you're doing weird like thespian stage antics or something. But, you know, even if you're playing 2 colors, like you could pretty easily make this work. So if you're in like 2 colors that don't really get a lot of card draw, you know, I mean, green, red, control, like a weirdo, might be the thing you're looking for. So I don't know, especially in green, right? Because like you ramp in green. So if you ramp in growth and then get this, you'll have 3 lands with the same name faster, I guess is what I'm getting at. I don't know. It's okay, dude. I'll give this like a 6. Come at me. It's easily the highest score of the video so far, but if you'll note, it's also easily the best card of the video so far. So I think that kind of makes sense to me, man. So let's see what's next. It's Arcane Investigator from Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. A single penny for this card. Whew, oh god, it's one of these. You have to roll a d20. Can this just not count? This uncard, basically. 2 mana, 1 and a blue for a 2/1 elf wizard. Search the room. You pay 6. You pay 6 mana. Are you kidding? 5 and a blue to roll a d20. 6 mana to leave, you know, to leave it up to fate. On a 1/3/9, you draw a card. On a 10 through 20, look at the top 3 cards of your library, put one of them in your hand, the rest on the bottom in a random order. Okay, so 6 mana to draw a card or cast Anticipate. This is pretty bad, man. Like, it's a 2 mana 2/1, so I guess there's a baseline here. But good lord, like, you'll never activate it. And if you do activate it, like, whoo, drew a card for 6, man. Come on, man. Yeeks. There's a reason this is a 1 penny. This is a single copper and zinc Abraham Lincoln portrait here in America. This card's bad. 1.9. And the only reason it gets a 1.9 is because theoretically you can draw you a card. Maybe. Woof. What's next, man? Island. This is the best card we've seen today. All basics get a 5. And then I rate the art apart from that, because people keep asking me to do it, so I'm going to start doing it. This art's like a 8.9. This is really good art. I like it a lot. You see the bear tracks and stuff? Look at the color palette, man. It's snapping off. Copper, blue, green, yellows, kind of an autumny feel, but spring. It's like autumn and spring at the same time. I like it. I think it's a beautiful art, dude. Psychic Networks is next. This is from the original Unset, Unglued, and we don't do uncards, but it says, but just one thing before we move on, though. It says it's illustrated by Claymore J. Flapdoodle. That is a name right there. It's not actually Claymore J. Flapdoodle. It's Phil Folio. This is Phil Folio art. But we'll move on to Thought Lash from Alliances. This is $10, and it's part of the reserve list, which probably has something to do with it. Look at this ridiculous Mark Teeden art. Look at this Mark Teeden art. Okay, so 4 mana. 2 and 2 blue for an enchantment with cumulative upkeep. Remove the top card of your library from the game. If you don't do that, remove your library from the game and bury Thought Lash. Seems fair. For 0 mana to activate, you just activate this card. Remove the top card of your library from the game to prevent 1 damage to you. So that's okay. So cumulative upkeep, by the way, means you have to double it every time. Right? Well, that's not true. It's not double every time. You have to do it again every time. So the way cumulative upkeep works now is there's even reminder text now. At the beginning of your upkeep, put an age counter on the permanent, then sacrifice it unless you pay its upkeep cost for each age counter. So, right. That means the first time you pay cumulative upkeep, you remove 1 card. Second time, 2 cards. Third time, 3 cards. Fourth time, 4 cards. Fifth time, 5 cards, and so forth and so on. So eventually this will run you out of cards. Right? Remove your library from the game and bury Thought Lash. So you'll probably die as soon as your opponent says go, very likely, or when you go to draw your card after the cumulative upkeep. So the card can't kill you. The good thing is the card can also save you for a whole bunch of turns, so many turns. And not only that, maybe you have Laboratory Maniac or, you know, Thassa's Oracle, or, you know, another thing that wants you to basically run yourself out of cards. Thought Lash can just do that. You know, oh, you're going to damage me? Sure. Just remove those cards. Who cares? Right. So this can enable a couple of very annoying and important strategies in Commander and beyond, for that matter. You know, Thassa's Oracle's not the only format that card sees play. And also, one more thing, Mark Teeden art. So again, I think this card has a $10 price tag for a reason. This is useful in Commander. This is part of the reserve list. It's gorgeous, a beautiful Magic card. So altogether, I am going to give this card a relatively high score. 6.5 for Thawed Lash. When used correctly, it's like a 6.8. And when just used, it's like a 6.2. So I'm going to just kind of jam those two scores together and average them out. So let's move on. It's a good card. Do Enduring Sliver. This is from Modern Horizons. 2 mana, 1 on a white for a 2/2 Sliver with Outlast 2. That means you pay 2, tap it, put a +1/+1 counter on it at sorcery speed. Other Sliver creatures you control also have this Outlast ability. That's not great. It's not. Of all the 2 mana Slivers you could be playing, I'd say this is like, you know, kind of out of the top 10 at this point, you know. So I'm going to throw like a 3 on this. I don't think it's very good. You know, not even in the context of Slivers, I don't think it's that great. But we'll move on to Mountain. All basic lands, again, get a 5. They don't count. But then I rate the art. I kind of like it. Good job by Matt Gazer here in the Commander Legends Battle for Baldur's Gate series. It does look kind of Dungeons and Dragons-y. And I think that you might be, you know, inclined to just look at it and be like, you have a big deal on this art. You know, it's a hill in the middle of a field. But I actually really like all the little detail on the army, you know, that's in front of the mountain here. I think that's really cool. So I'll give it a 6.2 on the art. Next is Winged Portent. I really like this card, but it's never been important in Standard, and it just rotated a couple of months ago. This is 2 mana, 1 and 2 blue for an instant with Cleave, 4, a green, and a blue. Draw a card for each creature with flying you control. Now, how this works is if you pay the 3 mana for it, you get the text as red. Okay, draw for 3 mana, draw a creature for each creature with flying, or draw a card for each creature with flying you control. If you paid the 6 mana Cleave cost, then you just draw a card for each creature you control, which I think both of these modes are actually pretty playable in Commander. Really do. Also, the art. Nicholas Gregory murdered it, dude. Like, maybe it's just like the 14-year-old kid in me or whatever, but, you know, drawing skulls at his desk. But the moon is a skull, and it's a skull because it's covered in bats, and that's awesome. So it's very, very cool. But, you know, I guess it's not bats, it's crows. It says crows in the flavor text, but I choose to believe whatever I wish to believe. Awesome looking magic card here, but that's not going to get you any points. The text, though, the text for the mana cost, both these mana costs, I think it's kind of fine. For 6 mana in Commander, you could pretty easily contrive a situation where you draw like 8 off of it. Like, how hard could that be, really? Like, at least 6 off of this. 1 for each mana you pumped into it. But even for the 3 mana cost, I think it's fairly easy, again, to engineer this situation where you draw like 4 pretty easily. If you make a bunch of flying tokens, you know, bada bing. It's easy. 60% of the time, it works every time. So, you know, I could see drawing like 7 off of this because you have a bunch of flying tokens or whatever. I just always loved this card, and it's another one I think needs some reevaluation. I will give Winged Portent a 5.7, and I think it deserves every bit of that score. Play it. Give it a shot. I'm telling you, man. Give it a try. Blitzwing, Cruel Tormentor is up next from the Transformers set. We've never hit a Transformers card. I think we should do them. I think they should count. This is 6 mana. That's a precedent, though, isn't it? Right? Because there's going to be 2 Universes Beyond sets per, or 3 or something. Yeah, 3 Universes Beyond per year coming up. I guess we like have to do them. I don't know, dude. Let me know in the comments. Should we do these? Should we do these cards? I want to know. I want to know. I'm going to do it because I'm interested in it. This is 6 mana, 5 and a black for a 6/5 legendary artifact creature robot that has more than meets the eye. More than meets the eye roll in this case. This is 4 mana, 3 and a black. You may cast this card converted for 3 and a black. Converted. Oh, so you convert it, you have to flip it over. Ugh. At the beginning of your end step, target opponent loses life equal to the life that player lost this turn. What? If no life is lost this way, convert Blitzwing. So, okay, so you have to make somebody lose life or else it converts. But you can cast it converted for 4 mana, which is less than its casting cost, so it's bound to be worse, right? So you have Blitzwing, Adaptive Assailant, a 3/5 legendary artifact creature vehicle. It's a vehicle, actually. It's not a creature. With living metal, as long as it's your turn, this vehicle is a creature, okay? At the beginning of combat on your turn, she's flying or indestructible at random. Blitzwing gains that ability till end of turn. Whenever Blitzwing deals combat damage to a player, convert it. Good lord, this is a wordy card. Jeez Louise. All right, so it makes sense that all the Transformers would transform. That's a given, right? Um, um, this is kind of tough. Maybe I shouldn't have rated this card. She's flying or indestructible at random, so it doesn't matter. You can't make a, you don't have a game plan at all. I guess it's technically easier to deal damage to your opponent and reconvert it if you get to flying. That's cool. So 4 mana, let's just call it a 4 mana, 3/5 flying or indestructible. Deals combat damage to a player, convert it. You can never block with it because you can't crew it. But if you play it for 6 mana, it's this guy, which has this ridiculous line of text. At the beginning of your end step, target opponent loses life equal to the life they lost that turn. That seems like a very good line of text, right? So, all that, check it out, all that for a 5.2. I think that this, I'm pretty sure I'm going to throw 5.2 at this. I really just kind of want to give it a 5 and call it a day. But I think it's a little bit better than that because this line of text is bonkers, dude. It really is. But we'll move on to Terra Stomper. Final card of the day. We may do an extra for Thanksgiving. This is 6 mana, 3 and 3 green for an 8/8 beast that cannot be countered and has trample. This was originally printed in Zendikar back when this would have made control players quake in fear, you know? I think we have just better options than this for late game anti-control, like go over the top finishers nowadays. But this was, you know, one of, not the original, but one of sort of the originals. And it's pretty simple. I like how simple it is. Trample's the ability you want. Can't be counters the other ability you want. You just crush control. But if they have the removal spell, you know, they still get you. So, you know, Terra Stomper has a little bit of a history. I think people have love for this card, but, you know, the rate isn't bad. The rate really isn't bad, you know. 6 mana for an 8/8 trample. Let's kind of go, like slightly. But I'm not going to give it more than, say, a 4.9. Something like that. I think it's just a little too simple for its own good, right? At this point, they're just better cards, you know. But yeah, we will do an extra card today. It is Skull Snatcher from Betrayers of Kamigawa. This is 2 mana, 1 and a black for a 2/1 rat ninja with ninjutsu for a black. When Skull Snatcher deals combat damage to a player, remove up to 2 target cards in that player's graveyard from the game. So not super impressive. I guess it's got a really low ninjutsu cost, which I will always sort of be happy about. You know, it's kind of a 1 mana 2 power creature in some ways. And that's pretty cool. And, you know, you can always return a ninja to your hand that also has an ETB trigger and just kind of get that thing going. But I'm not even sure this is super playable in Yuriko, but apparently it is. This is, Betrayers is the only actual set. I guess there's a list printing, Plane Chase Anthology, Plane Chase 2012, but it's at least 50 cents to buy this card in any version, and most versions are anywhere between 60 and $1, 60 cents and $1. So it probably does see play in Yuriko. If I had to guess, this is likely part of the stock list, but I'm not sure that it should be. The card's not actually that impressive, but in that one context, in the Ninja's deck, I feel like even in the Ninja's deck, you probably could do better, but you need your like 1 mana ninjutsu guys. You got to have that, right? So I'm going to go with a 4.1 on this card. I like the low ninjutsu again. I think that's kind of the saving grace. And the fact that it's playable in one deck is probably, again, like why it's so not expensive, but not cheap. You know what I mean? Not 10 cents or whatever. So again, very narrow card, but that just shows you that like some 4.1s can see play, right? It doesn't mean you're just completely unplayable forever. So that is it for today, everybody. Again, happy Gobble Gobble Day to you, and I hope you have a good rest of your evening. And happy holidays. We're getting into that now. So yeah, love you, and say hi to your family for me. Bye.